I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss it, you know. We look so much closer from a distance. It's so easy to skim over and harder to find. I am so excited because I love this show. I love Rory Gilmore. I feel like I am Rory Gilmore on just your average typical day. I am her, she is me. This week I am reading like Rory Gilmore. I actually got this idea from Haley Pham. I love her videos. She does a lot of book videos and I love it. And I saw her do this and I was like, I need to do that too. Because I've actually been working through a Rory Gilmore reading challenge that I found on Pinterest. I think the list that I'm working through is actually the lists that Rory has read and not just the books that are mentioned in the show, because there's lists that are like over 500 books long, and then my list I think has like 315 books on it, something like that, which I will show you that list so you can see how many books are on there, and then you can also see which ones I've read already. But right now I have 3 books that were on that list. These are just the books that I just happen to have on hand that are on the list, but if I end up reading all 3 of these before the week is over, I'm either going to read one of the books I already have downloaded on my iPad that I know is on the list, or we're going to go to the public library. I feel like going to the public library is very much a Rory Gilmore thing to do. I'm kind of leaning towards going to the library, but we'll see when we get there. I don't normally read 3 books in one week either, but one of these books isn't a full book, which we'll get to in a second. But let me just tell you what books I have with me. The first one is The Secret Life of Bees. I've actually had this on my shelf for a really long time and I've been wanting to read it. And I just now realized the other day that it's on the reading challenge list as well. And then this is actually my dad's book that I stole from him for a very long time. Did that make sense? I've had it for a long time. I need to give it back to him. This is Mark Twain, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, an old little classic, which when I think of Rory Gilmore, I think of classics, to be honest. So I knew that that book was on there. This one is a shocker to me. This is just the full complete set of Grimm's fairy tales. I actually just got this for Christmas, but there's 2 stories in here that are on that list. First we have Rapunzel, and then we also have Snow White and Rose Red. So both of those are short stories. I also just feel like I am in my Rory Gilmore era because I am a college student and I don't know, I love to read. Made my coffee so that I am really feeling Rory Gilmore energy right now. I'm trying to decide which book I want to read, Mark Twain or The Secret Life of Bees. Originally I was going to read this one first because I'm more interested in it, but this one's such a Rory Gilmore one, and also I'm going home this weekend, so I kind of want to bring this home to my dad, like since it's his book and I've had it for so long. You know what, I'm probably just gonna read this one because I'm most excited for this one, and I feel like this will ease me into the Rory Gilmore reading world rather than throw me right into it like Mark Twain would. Also, I've read one other book by Mark Twain and it was a hike to get through, to be honest, so I'm a little scared of this one. Here's the Rory Gilmore reading challenge that I am currently doing. I'm just gonna swipe through so you guys can see, and then I haven't been able to find this exact PDF online, but if I find it, I will link it. I have no idea where I got it from because honestly, I've been working through this for way too long. Originally, I just wanted to do a video at the halfway point, kind of ranking every single book I've read so far on the list, but that's gonna take me years to get to that point. Like, I don't read every single book from this list because I like to go to the library, I like to browse, I like to read books that I've heard of before as well, like books on Instagram and YouTube, you know, the recommendations that come up everywhere. But I'm gonna go sit down and read for like 30 minutes to an hour. In my mind, late night cause I know they should've kissed you. I know lately I've been blinded by the issues. I don't wanna talk about it to Chris anymore. If you come around, just push open the door. Keep your tongue in your mouth. We both know where we're at. Is it not different now? Guys, my phone is definitely listening to me. Look what popped up on my Pinterest browse. 14 Ways to Live Like a Gilmore Girl. Literally listening to me. Yesterday was actually my birthday, but I did not read at all yesterday. I did read a good amount the day before, but yesterday I spilled wine all over my book on accident. My book looks very tragic, but I'm now almost a little over halfway. I bookmarked one spot because I was like, this might be a turning point, but I'm not sure. I also didn't read the back of this book before I started reading. Like, I just kind of went in blind, but I knew I had a copy of it because I probably read the back at some point and was like, oh, this sounds good. I did not realize that this takes place during like the civil rights. So it's 1964 in South Carolina. Basically what happens, I'm trying to figure out, this is a spoiler by reading the back of the book. Oh no, yeah, it's definitely not a spoiler. So basically what happens is that she leaves her hometown for whatever reason. It tells you the reason, but I don't want to give that away because it doesn't say on the back of the book. But she leaves her hometown and she ends up living with 3 sisters. And it's kind of like the story of the 3 sisters, and like she kind of lies a lot to the sisters. To be honest, I feel like everything plot-wise happened in the beginning of the book, and then now it's just a lot of character-driven and nothing's really happening. But to be honest, I don't really mind that. I was expecting a plot-driven book. I actually really like her writing so far, so I'm excited to keep going. I'm not crazy in love with it, to be honest. I don't think it'll be like a new 5-star read, but I'm excited to read it, so. Okay, I have about 100 pages left of my book. Something finally happened just now, like plot-wise, which is good, but I'm still kind of like, that seems a little bit random, but okay. Also, 2 separate times this author has been like directly foreshadowing something, and I don't like when authors do that. I want the foreshadowing to like almost not see it. Oh, also, I love when books say the title of the book like in the story, and that happened when I was reading today, so that was cool. Also, I really like how it's so full circle. Like in the beginning, she had bees flying out of her wall in her bedroom at random times at home, and now she is like kind of like a beekeeper, like working with bees, so. I spent all of my trying to get that night back. Down in San Diego, had it almost like. I have finished 2 of my 3 books, which is perfect because there's only 2 more days left, which I think gives me enough time to finish my last book. But I wanted to give you my final thoughts on these 2 since I've already finished them. Let's start with this one because this is the easier one. So I just read 2 short stories out of this, but I honestly was surprised because I've always heard that these fairy tales are like really very grim, but I didn't think that they were that bad at all. I expected them to be a lot more gory, but they weren't. Maybe it was just the 2 stories that I read weren't like that, but I am excited to actually go through and read every single one of these. Now, this book, I gave it a 3 out of 5 because it was not anything out of the ordinary. I did really like her writing, but the ending was very predictable and it was very character driven, which for some reason I was going into this not expecting it to be character driven. My cat is in a very playful mood right now, so she keeps interrupting me. What I was trying to say is that I really liked how it was written. I just did not love the storyline, but again, I just felt like it was very predictable. That's why I didn't rate it higher, but her writing is so good. So if you're looking for a storyline like this, I'd say give it a try because I liked how it was written. Just go into it knowing that it's going to be more character driven than plot driven. All right, last book. This is Mark Twain's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. I think I'm actually gonna listen to the audiobook of this one while I like follow along, but I'm actually pretty excited. So let's get into it. If you guys were wondering, my cat is in fact still acting crazy, but I cannot blame her because I just got home, so she's excited. I just added this to my room and I cannot be more happy with a decorating decision in my life. I just love being surrounded by books at all times, even if it's just this little cluster of books in my room. Okay, but now let's go actually read. I don't want the closure of open my mind. Late night calls, you know they should've kissed you. I know lately I've been blinded by the issues. I don't wanna talk about it to Chris anymore. If you come around, just push open the door. Keep your tongue in your mouth. We both know where we're at. Is it not different now? We don't got no time for that. I'm so close to finally finishing this book. Me and Rory are two very different type of readers, and I think I knew that before going into this video since I've read so many of the books on her list, but some of them I've liked. Not that I didn't love these books, but let's just get into it. I need to update you guys on Mark Twain, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. I have so many thoughts on this that I had to write them down just so that I could get it together because I did not know how to feel. Beginning of the book was good. After I got like 30 pages in, the end was good, but like majority of the middle of the book, I was so bored that if I wasn't filming this video, I probably would not have finished this book as quickly as I did. And if I didn't have the audiobook, I would not have finished it as quickly as I did because that audiobook 2 times speed. Planned for as long as I could take it, and then I would take a break and then I would keep going. I also wrote down on here page 19 and I'm already half asleep. Some parts are just dull. I also wrote this book feels more random than books are today. Like there's less of a strict plot line. Not that this book didn't have a plot line. It just felt like there would be a lot of like branching off between the main plot. So this is my second Mark Twain book. The other one I've read was The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. My feelings for both of these books were similar. I don't love that Mark Twain writes dialect into his books. I think it makes sense for the characters, but he does such heavy dialect, that it makes it harder to read, and I'm just so thankful for the audiobook because that just made the dialect part less of a challenge. Again, I understand why he does that. It makes sense for the book. I just don't love it. I also wrote down, I said, the number of times he says drives me crazy. Oh my gosh, like use a different word. Oh my gosh. Also, this book made me realize that I have trust issues because as soon as Huckleberry Finn started lying to other characters, I was like, this whole book's a lie. Everything he says, I didn't believe it. I didn't know if it was the truth or lies or not. I have trust issues, and Mr. Huckleberry Finn is part of my trust issues. I did not trust him at all simply because he lied a couple times. And not to fully bash on this book, I enjoyed parts of it, but I also feel like I kind of went in feeling like I wasn't going to enjoy it simply because classics are harder for me, and I think I hold them to a different standard than I do other books. I didn't love this. I rated it, I kind of don't want to say what I rated it. I rated it a 2 out of 5, and that was mostly because of my feelings towards it, not because of how it was written. As soon as I get the feeling of, oh, I don't want to read, like reading feels like a chore, that's how I know I don't like the book, and that's why I rated it a 2 out of 5. Solely because reading felt like a chore with this. It didn't feel like I was excited to read. So I'm sorry, Mr. Twain. I'm sorry, Twain fans. I see the hype though. I see why this is a classic. I can see it. But I did like these two, which we kind of already talked about, mentioned earlier. I thought that these would be more grim, and I was surprised that the 2 stories I read weren't more grim, but I'm very excited to read the rest of these stories. There's a lot in here. I mean, it's every single fairy tale that they wrote, so I am definitely going to go back and read every other story that I didn't read. And then this one was probably my favorite of everything that I read in this video. Secret Life of Bees. Good story, really good writing, and it's a good book if you're looking for character development kind of novels, which sometimes I like. Again, I just wasn't going into this book looking for that. I really liked how she wrote it, and Only Lost Stars mostly because of the plot that I felt like was very predictable, a little bit too easy. Yeah, and that's it. Really great writing. I might see what else this author has. It says it's author of The Invention of Wings, which I've never heard of, but again, beautiful writing. Okay everyone, that is it for this week's video. My week of reading like Rory Gilmore. Let me know if there's any other videos similar to this one or just in general that you guys want to see from me. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Bye! Why is that so hard to say? Hi. Albie. Albie. Hi, good girl. Oh my gosh, her little tongue.